What are you so excited about? What are you so excited about? Oh my gosh. Hello, are you gonna help me? You're on a mission, aren't you? Hey, what's going on, guys? I actually made this whole video and realized I never made an intro for it. Not sure what happened, but I think I was just kind of focused on... Oh my gosh. This cat has to touch everything. Everything is his. I own nothing in this house. Everything is owned by my cats. Is that right? Good boy. But like I was saying, I guess this marks the first episode of my DT175 Motard build. I wanted to call it a Supermoto. I'm still calling it a Supermoto in passing, but officially it's going to be a Motard. Well, because the DT175, not a whole lot of super things about it. It's a small displacement bike, it's not a full-size suspension, so I'm having a hard time calling it a Supermoto, but I think Motard is very fitting and I'm very excited to do this. In this episode, I'm going to be working on the wheels. I actually got a set of wheels and I'm going to be swapping out the bearings, getting them ready to be put on the bike, and basically mocking up the front wheel on the front forks. I was gonna say fender, but mocking up the fender as well. But in any case, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit of a unofficial introduction to the new build, but yeah, that's the new build. I'm taking my DT175 that you saw in the last video, or I guess 2 videos ago, where I announced that it's going to be its last dirt ride, and I'm going to be making it into Motard. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the flip side. Alrighty, right now I'm trying to figure out my bearings. So these wheels that I got, they came with bearings already. However, the front axle, or rather the front wheel, is meant for a different axle, which mine is actually smaller. So I believe these are 15 by 35 by 11s, which is a stock RT180 bearing. For those actually wondering, so these are RT180 hubs that have been laced to 17-inch rim bands. Or rims, bands. I guess rim bands is a bit redundant. I initially thought that I would have to use a rear RT180 hub, and I would have to get a front hub that matches the front end that I'm using, which by the way is a 2004 CR85R front end. However, those hubs don't actually have enough spoke holes in them to lace up to these rims. So I ended up getting this whole combo. It's already done for me, kind of nice. But yeah, RT180 hubs, I believe they got the stock bearings and they're the factory bearings. So I need to replace these with 12 by 35 by 11s because the new shaft that I'm using, the new axle, is actually a 12 mil axle. Currently, I am getting the seals out because I need to get the sleeve out, the center sleeve that goes in there. I need to measure the length of it and basically make a new sleeve that fits the new axle. So let's try and pull this other seal out. Not too worried about marring those up, simply because I am not going to use them anymore, and they were actually in kind of bad condition to begin with. They were a little bit ripped. Probably would have been good to replace them anyway, even if I was, you know, still running a 15mm axle. Now I gotta get the bearings out. I don't know how to do that because I don't want to heat up the hubs. I don't know how that's going to affect, you know, the powder coating. I might just try and knock them out. I'm not using these bearings. I hate wasting parts, like I hate ruining parts, but I also wouldn't want to really ruin my hub. It's kind of a tricky situation. I'm gonna think about this more, how to get these bearings out, and then we'll get the sleeve out one way or another. All right, I'm an idiot. So I know the width of the bearings, right? They are 11mm wide. There are 2 of them, right? 22mm. All I gotta do is measure from the outside to the outside, and I basically subtract 22mm from that, and I figure out what length sleeve I need. I mean, it's really simple as that. I don't really need to knock any bearings out right now, and that kind of gives me more time to figure out how to get those out before the new ones come in and I have to install those. So I guess let's get measuring. I measured from the outside of one bearing to the outside of the other bearing, and that basically gives me the overall length. I'm going to subtract the width of both bearings from that. So the overall length was anywhere from 78 to 80mm. The only reason there's a range is because I use my finger as a stopper for the vernier on the other end. And the reason I did that is because it's really not that critical for it to be precise. I just need a rough estimate of how long the sleeve needs to be so I know what to order. There's kits available and I can always cut it down, but I can't make it longer, right? So anyway, 78 to 80, let's just go with 80 minus 22 is going to be 58. So I need a roughly 58 millimeter sleeve. Now, I think actually the kit that I was looking at comes with a 54 millimeter sleeve, which would have been way too short. So it's good that I checked and I can order the other one now. And I guess that's what I gotta do now. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of stuff to do on these wheels. They're basically good to go. I am going to get them checked over, you know, make sure all the spokes are good, but I need to get a sprocket. I need to get a a rotor for the front, and obviously I got to get the whole front bearing situation figured out. Might also see if the rear bearings need some work. If they do, I'll swap those out. Hopefully not, because man, the small parts bill is already racking up. Like, I spent about $1,500 in wheels and suspension already, but the list of just bushings and all these other things is like a third of that already. So it's like, ugh. But hey, that's the cost of building bikes, and I'm excited to actually, you know, build this thing and have basically a brand new bike, you know. Really excited. And I guess on to the next clip, guys. I'm gonna go and order those bearings and wait for them to come in. Check it out, guys. There's this one kit here which comes with a 53 millimeter spacer for the front, right? And that is way too short for me, so I actually have to get one that I think is for the rear. See, this one comes with both, but I don't need both. I really only need just the one, which I think this is the one that I need right here. 84 millimeter length. I can always cut that down, either, you know, precisely by hand, or potentially get my dad to help me out because he's got a lathe. And yeah, I'm gonna order this now. Call it a day. 1 week later, and I got the bearings, very nice. I got the sleeve, very nice. And I had to get this, unfortunately. So this, guys, is a blind bearing puller set. It's meant for all sorts of sizes. I think like 9 millimeters to 32. It even says on there, yeah, 9 to 34 actually. This costs $200. I am not happy about that. I am 100% going to be returning this because I just can't justify spending that much money on a tool that I'm going to use like once a year. Maybe one day when I have more money, I will buy one to keep, but I am going to throw this one back into the store on the shelf with all the other ones that have been returned, because I'm not the only one. So I guess now let's get the wheel on the table. I don't really know the best way to do this. I don't want to heat up the hub too much because it is powder coated, and I don't want to powder coated. I said that funny. It is powder coated, so I don't want to you know, compromise the coating. And yeah, I'm gonna heat it up very lightly and then try pulling the bearings. I'm trying to carefully cut this open so I'm not being barbaric like everybody else. Maybe somebody will want to buy it to keep it. I even opened up the ones that were at the store that were already open, and a bunch of the bits were marred up from being used. So people are just ruthless. I'm gonna try to not do that. If I do, it is what it is. It's just a coating, but still. All I know is if I got this and then had marred bits and I had the intention of keeping it, I'd be kind of upset. But hey, also, if this wasn't $200 and was like $100, might be more inclined to actually keep it. Alrighty, here we go. Got a 2-pound slide hammer here, and got all these bits. So we need a 12 mil one right there. So how this works is it's got a little lip on the end, and it's actually split. So when you screw the core, this part, into the sleeve, this part, it actually like pries open this nozzle end and, you know, secures itself on the bearing. So hopefully we'll be able to use this to pull out the bearings. I think it should be fine. I really want to avoid using heat, like I said, because I don't want to mess those hubs up even more. They're already a little bit chipped, but I think heat is really going to be a huge help here. See, like, why can't they sell this as a kit, you know? Slide hammer with the rod separately, and then the bit separately, you know? I don't need all the way up to a freaking 34 mil. Like, I really don't, you know? But maybe one day I will, who knows? Right, I don't need a 12. I'm an idiot. I need a 15, because the bearings I have are a 12. The bearings I'm taking out are 15. Silly me. Now there is a sleeve in there, so I don't know how this is going to work. Give it a go, guys. Best we can do is give it a go. Let's apply a little bit of heat. Like I said, not a lot of heat, but I just don't want to mess it up. It's that sleeve, man. It's messing everything up. So the issue I'm having is that this slip right here on the tool has basically nowhere to grab onto on the bearing, because the sleeve between the two bearings is basically butted right up against the bearing. So it makes it very difficult to get that out. Well, that's not working. I almost gave up. I almost, well, I did pack up the tool. I was gonna go to a shop tomorrow and pay to get this done, but I'm stubborn. My girlfriend says I'm persistent. I think I'm stubborn. I'm gonna try again. And I think my biggest problem initially was that the wheel wasn't secure enough on the surface, and it kept lifting up when I was, you know, doing the slide hammer action up. So, gonna try to secure it to the table. Try that again. I'm gonna get you, son of a... I'm gonna get fat out these hot pockets. And I'm gonna get you. Yes! That's one nasty bearing. See guys? Pizza pockets are the meta. The other thing that I did, guys, was actually greased up the inside of the race here just to help the bearing on its way out, which I think did help. Hey, good to go. Let's heat up this guy. Now that I'm not afraid to heat up the hubs that much, because here's my issue, right? The hubs are a little bit chipped up, you know, not a big deal, that's okay. When I'm riding down the street, nobody's gonna see that. I'm not gonna see that. Who cares? However, I do want to get these powder coated white at some point. I don't know if I'm gonna do the hubs white, probably still do the hubs black and the bands white. I don't know. But in any case, I'm gonna get them redone. So I'm like, if I'm gonna get them redone anyway, I might as well just heat them up to the point where I can get the bearings out. And if it messes up the powder coating more, I guess, you know, so be it. But looks like the powder coating's fine, and I got the bearing out. Win-win. Let's give the second one a go. I forgot my little grease trick. See? I learned. Just gotta commit. Well, there you have it, guys. Both bearings are finally out of the front hub. Now, I'd love to get the new bearings in, but I do need to cut the new sleeve to size. And I also don't want to push my luck tonight. I'm a little bit tired. Didn't have to do a lot of thinking for this, but it did require a lot of energy. So I am going to call it a night for today, and I'm going to put the new bearings in at another time. Probably tomorrow, maybe the day after. We'll see. But it's all going to be in the same video. So see you guys in the next clip. It went right in. It went right in. I'll take it. Heat is your best friend. Also, look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Would you look at this? Got the hub spacer. Boom. 9mm socket. That's gonna help me keep the sleeve aligned when I'm whacking the other bearing in. Or hopefully it just slips in like the other one. Make that an 8. There we go. Perfect. So one thing I'm noticing now is it's hard to see on camera, but the sleeve actually sits higher than the step where the bearing is supposed to sit. And I wonder if that's proper or not, because I mean, I never really measured that distance. I just made the same spacer that, ouch, that's still hot, made the same spacer that came in here with the other bearings. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to figure this out right now. Okay, so it's about a week later and I finally figured out the spacer issue. So the spacers were indeed way too long for these hubs, and in fact I checked the rear one as well and it was too long as well, so I'm glad I checked that. Hi buddy. So I went back to my parents' place. Now my dad, being the awesome guy that he is, actually helped me lathe these down today, so I can finally assemble the wheels. I spoke to somebody who I consider a professional, thank you Sean, and he said that basically these guys need to be finger loose when both of the bearings are in. So the distance that I measured here was 55 millimeters from bearing journal to bearing journal, or I guess bearing seat to bearing seat, and this guy is like 54.98. So hopefully this one will be good. Now for this guy, it was a little bit tough because my wheel is actually kind of damaged in a way. The bearing that was in here spun, and I guess the previous owner didn't really do anything about it, which I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just, you know, stating facts here. It happened. It's okay. It is what it is. This is the bearing. If I put it in, I can actually like slide it in and out fairly easily. So kind of a loose fit, but the newer bearing is going to help. I got some new bearings. I got some new bearings on the way, so that's not going to be a problem. They actually fit a little bit better in there, and I'm going to make some dimples, or maybe just one dimple, just to kind of stop it from, you know, potentially spinning again. But this guy was a little too long as well, the sleeve that is, and this guy was a little bit harder to measure because when the bearing spun inside there, it created a bit of its own groove. So I don't know if I was measuring correctly or not, and I thought the spacer had to be 110 millimeters, which originally it was like 112, way too long. 2 millimeters over is way too much. But when we machined it down to 110, the bearing was still wobbling on the spacer, meaning that the spacer was still longer than the internal distance there. So we machined it down, I think, to like 109.7, something like that, and that seems to do the trick. So the rear one's good to go. I repacked, I took the seals off. Come on, focus. I took the seals off and I repacked these bearings with good grease. That one in there is done as well. I didn't take it out. I'm gonna repowder coat these hubs at some point anyway, so I figured I'm just gonna run the old bearings for now. I'm not gonna ride this bike too much before I repowder coat the wheels. So really, yeah. What do you think of all this? So I got new bearings on the way. I'm gonna put those in after I repowder coat the hubs. And life is good. These are still pretty good. I'm comfortable running these in the meantime. Hi, yes, that's a hammer. That's a mallet. So in the meantime, I am going to install the front spacer. I'm going to install the front bearing, which it's in the freezer. It's already in the freezer. So I gotta heat this up. I'm gonna put you guys on the stand. I've rambled for like 4.5 minutes now. Great. Love the ramblings. Now, I also don't have a proper disc brake that I want to run. This is a 220. This comes on an RT180. So I'm going to mock this up for now just because I want to see how it lines up with the caliper that I have. Now, I have a couple of other options for disc brakes, like a 310 millimeter or a 320 millimeter, but for the time being, we'll just use that one to mock it up. It's kind of small, you know, kind of small, but it is what it is. For mock-up purposes, it's going to be just fine. Alrighty, let's throw the second bearing in. Also, weight loss, not going well at all, but I'm working on it. Alrighty, here we go, guys. I'm going to grab my handy dandy socket that I will use to retain the spacer inside the wheel while I slip the bearing in. I believe it was an 8 mil. I already cleaned this. I think it's fairly clean. So I'm just gonna send it. Alrighty, so now that that's a bit warm, I'm gonna go and get the bearing that's in the freezer right now. Should have shrunk sufficiently. We'll put some grease on it and we'll slip it in. Got the bearing, let's coat it up. Okay, let's warm this up a little more. Gotta heat it up evenly. Alrighty, let's try dropping it in. Okay, this one needs a little help. We can do that. Okay, so that was a bit weird because I thought the bearing would go in a little bit further than it did. And I'm not sure why it didn't go in further. The step doesn't have any obtrusion or anything. So maybe it's just my brain playing tricks on me, and the chamfer of the inner race of the bearing also, you know, playing a visual trick on me. But it seemed like the spacer was a little too loose in there, and I was like, dang it, cut it too short, which I don't think we did. So let's test that. I'm gonna get some pliers. I'm gonna try and wiggle it up and down and see what's up. Some junker needle noses. Got the little spacer in there. Honestly, I can barely move it. I mean, I can definitely move it around in there. It's definitely finger loose. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of like up and down play. I don't know. It's so hard to say. I don't know. I think it's fine. Here's the axle that I'll be using. I don't know, man. It's so hard to say. I think it's fine. And if it's not, these are getting ouch. Ah. Yeah, still a bit warm, but not hot. I overreacted. Yeah, I'm repowder coating these white, most likely, so I can always pull the bearings, do another spacer. Not really a big deal. I mean, It is and it isn't. It's okay. Not the end of the world, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, let's get this thing mounted up. Actually, let's put the disc brake on and then mount this thing up to the front forks. Alright, the brake is on. I didn't tighten up this one and this one fully because the threads were powder coated, and I basically just want to clean it up with a tap first before I, start stripping aluminum threads with steel bolts. Now comes the moment of truth. This is basically when I figure out how much spacers I need, how much clearance I need for what, and well, I guess let's just dive right into it. I don't know if this will get in the way or not. That's kind of weird. I don't know why it sticks out inwards like that. I may have to take that guard off for now, but I guess maybe I'll take that guard off first. Might be worth getting a new one anyway. I'm gonna stick the axle in by itself for now without the spacers. See how the disc brake lines up. Okay, so I pried the caliper open very carefully with a big flathead, and it seems to have worked. I didn't need to drain the fluid. A lot easier than I expected. I think the wheel is ready to get mounted up now. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Let's give it a try. Alrighty, there we go. It's in. Man, look at this, guys. This looks awesome. Oh man, I'm so pumped. Definitely a bit of a small front brake, but I think we'll be able to mitigate that shortly. I love this though. This is so cool. I absolutely love that, guys. It's so cool to finally see this start coming together. Might throw a fender on this. And I'll see what the spacer situation is like as well. But it's one step closer. Guys, this is way cool. I'm so happy with this. It's definitely too tall because obviously it's not on the bike. It doesn't have the weight of the bike weighing it down. And the plastics are all yellow. Then the brake's not as big as it could be, but I put the fender on. So good. Look at that. I love that. That's so good. I cannot wait for this, guys. Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up here, but before I do, I'm going to go over... actually, let's check one more thing. Ooh, that's close. That's pretty close to the caliper there. So I guess it runs like a 210 originally, and that's a 220. So if I go up to like a 310, I'm really going to need a pretty hefty spacer on there. I'm doing my best to document this build with the time that I have. So before I go, I'm going to drop some knowledge on you guys, let you know what all these parts are, and... if that's the information you're looking for, it's right here. So this is a 2004 CR85R front end, but you can basically use a YZ85 front end, an RM85 front end, basically any modern 85cc two-stroke dirt bike. You can essentially use the front end off of to turn your DT175 into a Motard. Now, as far as the wheels go, the rear wheel is a 17x3, the front wheel is a 17x2.5, I believe. 17 by 2.5. They are Morelli rims. I did not build these wheels originally. The hubs are from a Yamaha RT180. Now the front hub is a 95 and up. I actually have a pre-95 hub, and I'm not sure that would work. The rear, I think, is the same for a DT175 as an RT180. They kind of kept them the same throughout the years. So yeah, that's an RT180 hub. That's an RT180 hub, 95 plus. This is an RT180 rotor. I don't think I'll be using that, but that's what that is. The calipers, whatever came with the CR85R forks. Depending on your forks, you might need a different bearing for the front wheel. So the rear uses the same regular bearings that you would use on an RT180 or DT175. They're different sized. If you guys need that information, you can either look it up on like Partzilla or Bike Bandit. But I'm also documenting all this, so I think I'll just put the info in the description in case, somebody else needs it. No secrets here, guys. Just trying to build a really cool bike and, spread the love. The front hub spacer you're going to need is about 55 millimeters in length. The rear hub spacer is about 110. As I mentioned earlier, it's like slightly under. I think my front hub spacer is okay. I think it is. It wasn't really wobbling around in there. So time will kind of tell. I am going to try the original CR85R spacers. I don't think they will fit, but I will try them. I actually decided to throw the spacers on. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it today or not, but it seems like... So I'm pretty sure the brake is properly spaced. It's hard to see. Like, I think it's properly spaced with the caliper, but that's not the point. The point is that this little guy right here has a little bit of play. That's all the play that it has. And this guy has, well, little to no play, which will get compressed anyway. So I'm thinking I just need some shims, and we can space out the rotor properly, and this thing is gonna be mint. I'm really excited, guys. So excited. But there you have it, guys. That's about it. I'm really excited about this. It makes me so happy just seeing this coming together. I know it's kind of a mock-up. It's not a final assembly by any means, but it's getting that much closer to the vision, and I just had to put it together to you know, reinforce the vision. So without further ado, hopefully this video wasn't too much rambling for you guys. I will be back with another video shortly. I'm rebuilding the swing arm right now. I actually have it all disassembled. I could show you that, but it's just a crusty old swing arm, which I want to get powder coated, and I'm getting a bunch of brand new parts for it, so I'm going to make it OEM fresh. Really excited about that, and I'm slowly getting there, guys. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.